Part 178. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1771. The old woman understood immediately after hearing it. What did she remember wrong? It must be that the relative didn't want the poor relatives from the countryside to come to visit the autumn wind, so he deliberately gave the wrong address, causing the little daughter-in-law in front of him to be unable to find anyone. After hearing her explanation, Feng Qingxiu said in a low voice with a downcast face, "You lied to me? What should I do? I brought the New Year's goods prepared by my family, including a lot of eggs, bacon, sausages, and dried chickens and ducks. I have saved them. In the past half year, I was so tired that I rested 3 or 4 times on the road. I finally made it to the city at this time. Do you still have to take it back with me?" The old woman's eyes flashed, and she immediately approached Feng Qingxiu and asked in a low voice, "Did you bring eggs and bacon?" The 3 old ladies who were sunbathing with the old lady also came over and pricked up their ears. Feng Qingxiu nodded, "Yes, it's all saved by my family. I also asked my relatives and friends for a lot. This relative of my family is a cotter in the city. I can't get rid of him if I don't have it. But I can't find him now. What's going on? Do it?" The old woman said enthusiastically, "Come on, come to my house for a drink of hot water, and we will give you some ideas." "Yes, yes, my daughter, let's go to Aunt Jean's house together. Let's brainstorm and think of a way to prevent you from taking her back to make you tired all the way," the 3 old ladies said in unison with great excitement. Feng Qingxiu smiled secretly in her heart and followed Aunt Jean to her house obediently. Aunt Jean's house is very small, with 2 rooms and 1 living room, about 50 or 60 square meters in total. There is a bunk bed in the living room. The bedding is old and patched, but it looks very neat, and the room is bright and clean. Aunt Jean poured her an enamel jar of hot water and mixed it with some cold boiled water. "Daughter, drink some water first." After blowing and taking a sip, the taste turned out to be sweet, and Feng Qingxiu was a little surprised on her face. "I put a spoonful of sugar, you drink it while it's hot." Aunt Jean and the other 3 old ladies all focused on the bamboo basket. They carried it up for Feng Qingxiu, but it was too late. A basket must have at least 20 or 30 pounds. Feng Qingxiu held the enamel jar and said shyly, "Thank you, Aunt, it tastes really good. It's hard to buy sugar in the countryside." Aunt Jean said with a sweet smile, "If you like to drink, drink more. I will give you half a bag when you go back. Urban residents have candy coupons every month, and many families can't use them all. Aunt Jean's family is no exception. They don't lack sugar, but their family lacks meat." The same goes for the 3 old neighbors, who all have the same idea. Otherwise, Feng Qingxiu, who was delivering bacon to relatives but could not find anyone, would not have been brought home. Feng Qingxiu said, "I can't take Aunt's things for nothing. I'm worried about having to take so many things back. I'm so tired. Both arms feel like they're not my own. I really don't want to suffer the second time." A gray-haired old lady couldn't wait to say, "Daughter, I have an idea, would you like to hear it?" "What's your idea?" Feng Qingxiu looked at her curiously. Although her face was dark, her brows and corners showed kindness, her eyes were kind and gentle, and she was not the kind of harsh person. The old lady smiled and said, "My mother-in-law's surname is An, you can just call me Anton. You see, if you carry so many things home and tire yourself, you will definitely have to go home in the middle of the night, and it will be hard to explain when you go back. How about selling it to us? We won't tell anyone, so you can take the money and go home to explain it." Aunt Jean and the other 2 old ladies nodded one after another, "Whatever you want, we will find a way for you." Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1772. Feng Qingxiu pretended to be surprised. She had already pulled down her scarf, showing her true face. My family is short of food stamps, cloth stamps, and industrial coupons. Not only my family, but our village is in short supply. If I can bring some home, my father-in-law and my man will definitely not scold me for not finding relatives. Rather than giving me leave, the tickets and money are all affordable to the relatives at the address. I have my baby's tuition for the coming year and food stamps. Maybe I can buy my baby new clothes for the new year. Aunt Jean thought there was a way, and said with a smile, "Yes, that's the truth. Otherwise, if you bring so much back, you will be tired and hard to explain, and maybe you will break eggs on the way." "Girl, I won't cheat you. You sell bacon and sausages, give me the money, $1 and a pound, compared with the price in the store. How about I give you 5 pounds of food stamps and 5 industrial coupons? At the end of the year, the price of these things on the black market has doubled." I want it to, my daughter. I have to save up my industrial stamps to buy a sewing machine, but I can give you 10 pounds of food stamps, Anton said immediately. Her eldest son is a miner, and her second son works in a coal factory. The monthly supply is 45 pounds, and food stamps are not money, so the savings come out. The other party has to pay for food with food stamps. Feng Qingxiu said at a loss, "I don't have a scale." Anton hurriedly said, "I have it at home, I'll go get it and bring a basket to put things in." The other two also took advantage of the situation to go home to pick up the utensils and money receipts. After a while, the three of them brought 3 or 4 middle-aged and elderly women. They were all smiling and obviously came for the New Year's goods. They lowered their voices and did not dare to speak loudly. Noisy. Feng Qingxiu readily followed Aunt Jean's instructions and priced the bacon, sausage, air-dried chicken, and duck. They were all $1.50, excluding tickets. Compared with fresh meat, bacon, sausage, air-dried chicken, and duck had no moisture, and the loss was high. The money was not high at all, but the eggs were 6 cents each, and they quickly divided them up. For the 2 large baskets of goods, Feng Qingxiu received a total of 86 yuan. This was the result of all the small changes being wiped out by her. In addition, she received 37 kilograms of local food stamps, 23 industrial coupons, and a 7-foot coupon. Cloth stamps and 1.5 pounds of candy stamps. Aunt Jean kept her promise and gave her half a pack of sugar, and she also wiped out a fraction of Aunt Jean's 1 and 8 cents. Feng Qingxiu followed suit, changed into a coat, and walked around the flour mill that was far away from the coal factory. She exchanged more than 100 yuan and a bunch of tickets from the workers' families, and finally went to waste collection. Within the area of the station, she found a few good deals, exchanging old items for fine grains and wax goods. It was up to her to decide how many old items could be exchanged for. At this time, who doesn't have some old items? It's close to the scrap collection station. Who hasn't collected some usable old objects from there? After more than 10 years of study, and with the antiques in the space for her to observe, Feng Qingxiu's eyesight has long been developed. More than 10 kilograms of flour, rice, dried noodles, and bacon were exchanged for 3 or 4 good things that will be valuable in the future. The rest it's very ordinary. The old woman with little feet took away the last bit of white flour in her hand and pointed to the door of Deng Nan's ex-wife's house in the distance, and whispered, "They have a lot of old things in their house, and the daughter-in-law they married is Zhang Rong, the daughter-in-law of the former big landowner Deng's family. Everyone knows that before she reported Deng Nan, she had secretly hid many belongings of the Deng family, and because she reported meritoriously, her own dowry and commonly used things were not confiscated. Many of the dowry were given to her by the Deng family back then. With the betrothal gift, my life has been comfortable these years." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1773. Feng Qingxiu didn't know what was going on and asked carefully, everyone else was nationalized, how did she keep it? The old woman said, who told the man she married to pretend to be a red soldier and the leader of such things as running around and confiscating homes. He works in the revolutionary committee of our street. He is so powerful. Who is not afraid of him? The Deng family has fallen into this situation. Deng Hongling and Deng Wu were in trouble many times, and the Red soldiers did their best to support Zhang Rong. Feng Qingxiu smiled slightly, remembered it in her heart, and pretended to be stupid. She is so capable and eats so well. There must be many people giving gifts. I have no shortage of things like this. But Zhang Rong likes to dress up. If there is any rare cloth, she will be willing to exchange it for an old item. The old woman glanced at her. No matter how rustic she is dressed, her delicate skin and tender flesh cannot deceive anyone. She is whiter and tenderer than Zhang Rong's carefully maintained skin. How can she look like a country girl? I'm afraid he's just like the people who secretly collect old items in the streets, just disguise themselves and make up their origins. The old woman didn't say much, and walked home on her little feet. She secretly spat when she passed the door of Zhang Rong's house. Those who are darkened by ingratitude should not be afraid of being cast aside. Feng Qingxiu found a place to change her hat and scarf, put on a military coat and carried a backpack to Deng Hongling's residence. Deng Wu was already awake, lying on the bed and blinking his dark eyes to watch Deng Hongling clear the things on the table. Doctor, you're here. Deng Hongling took the basket Feng Qingxiu had unloaded. Just as Feng Qingxiu was about to speak, she suddenly let out a sigh. Wasn't the white noodles in the small bamboo basket on the table the old woman from before? She could clearly see the patch on the small bamboo basket. Why was it at Deng Hongling's house? Deng Hongling noticed her gaze and said hurriedly, my brother's wet nurse sent it to us. She often gives us food secretly. Feng Qingxiu sighed, understanding where the old woman's hostility towards Mao Hongbing and Zhang Rong came from. In that case, why are you begging in front of your sister-in-law's door? You even broke your head. The old woman brought them white noodles instead, and she was more willing to find ways to treat Deng Wu. Deng Hongling shook his head and said, Aunt Liao's son and daughter-in-law are very unfilial. They look down on Aunt Liao's past as a wet nurse for my brother. She thinks that my brother's growth depends on her breastfeeding. She is also a guilty person, so I don't want to trouble her. This I didn't want to take the white noodles, but Mrs. Liao said that she asked someone to exchange them and couldn't take them back. She thought that no matter how ruthless Zhang Rong was, she would not care about her son's life. Who knew that she was so ruthless to the extreme that she would not save him until he died? Feng Qingxiu understood clearly. It's getting late. I'll give Xiao Wu an injection and then go home. I won't say much else. She took out the syringe and medicine and looked at the shy and childish child on the bed, feeling a little distressed. Deng Hongling quickly stepped forward and asked her nephew to thank her. Thank you, Dr. Deng Wu's soft voice was a little weak. You're welcome. Take good care of yourself and he will recover soon. Feng Qingxiu finished giving him the injection and then tested his body temperature. It was much lower than in the morning. He felt relieved. The rest depends on him. Recuperated. Deng Hongling was grateful. Feng Qingxiu took out the 10 steamed buns and lunchbox mutton soup she bought for lunch from her backpack and put them on the table. In her refusal, she said to her, my husband is also a soldier and participated in the war to resist U.S. aggression and aid Korea. I admire your brother for his talent. Don't be polite to me and support yourself and your nephew well. If I contact your brother, I will come over and tell you. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1774. Deng Hongling burst into tears and choked up, I really don't know how to thank you. Since Feng Qingxiu traveled across time, the people she had helped, old and young, were like crucian carp crossing the river. If she had initially thought of seeking retribution, she would not have given her help so freely. She helps people because they are pitiful and she is capable and willing to help them overcome their difficulties. If she doesn't have time to take care of herself, she won't mind her own business. Deng Hongling's thanks were like a breeze blowing on her face, and she was used to it. Don't talk about this, I should go. Putting away the syringe and the thermos bucket that Deng Hongling had washed, Feng Qingxiu picked up the backpack and pushed Deng Hongling in when she stepped out of the house. It's cold outside, don't give it away, I'm afraid of being seen. After hearing this, Deng Hongling could only watch her back disappear from his eyes. In the revolving room, Deng Hongling picked up the lunchbox containing mutton soup and was shocked to find a pile of coupons and a pile of scattered banknotes under the lunchbox. There were nearly 100 kilograms of food stamps and more than 30 yuan, in addition to there were some industrial coupons, candy coupons, cloth coupons, and the gauze wrapped with steamed buns also contained a can of meat sauce and 2 packages of walnut cakes. Xiao Wu, we have met a good person. Deng Hongling's voice was choked with tears, I have to remember it one by one. When your father comes back, let him return it to this doctor. We cannot accept favors from others without thinking of anything in return. It's a pity that we didn't ask for the doctor's name and address. Deng Wu glanced curiously and swallowed, will Dad come back? I haven't even seen him. Deng Hongling fed him a few mouthfuls of mutton soup, then picked out the rotten mutton from the soup and stuffed it into his mouth. She solemnly said, it doesn't matter if you haven't seen him, but he will definitely come back. Just like the doctor said, everything will be better. A longing smile appeared on Deng Wu's face, with an innocent childishness in it. Only then did he truly look like a child, without any gloom on his face. Feng Qingxiu's steps back were not easy, and there was mud under her feet. Things like Deng Hongling's aunt and nephew still happened across the country. They met her. Where were the others? If you can get through it, it's life, if you can't get through it, it's death. In some cases, life is even worse than death. Winter days are short and nights are long, and as the sun sets, it's a great time for black market activities. Feng Qingxiu was alone and did not dare to go deep. She turned around and got on the bus back to the camp. She watched the scenery passing by outside the window and sighed silently. She really hoped that the dawn would come earlier. After getting off the car, she found that the dawn had not arrived, but Lu Zhang was waiting for her at the stop. The evening breeze could not shake his tall and mighty body at all. A smile appeared on her face unconsciously. Feng Qingxiu reached into her backpack, put the prepared supplies in, and let Lu Zhang take it in his hand. When did you come back? Didn't say hello at all. I'll be back as soon as the matter is settled. Lu Zhang carried the backpack, I just got home half an hour ago. I'll wait for you here. Feng Qingxiu was very happy, can I rest at home for a few days? The last vacation was cancelled before one day. Lu Zhang shook his head and said, I have not been in the military for a few months. There is a lot of backlog of work that needs to be dealt with and I have no time to rest. Moreover, I learned in the capital that an order was issued during the first earthquake work a few years ago. The northeast area is in the key earthquake surveillance area. In the middle of last year, the State Seismological Administration predicted that there would be an earthquake in the Haikan-Yingkou area within 1 or 2 years. Although our troops are not within the scope, they are close. I have to urge the Northeast Earthquake Department to continue to monitor the situation and cooperate with us. Good earthquake-proof work. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1775. Arrange for the children to go back home. Feng Qingxiu's first thought after hearing Lu Jiang's words was this. She held Lu Jiang's arm tightly, and her nails almost embedded in the muscle. If something really happens, The army will definitely go to rescue, and we doctors have an obligation to do so. But I am worried about the elderly and children at home staying here. Let them go back to their hometown and live there for 2 years. When they are busy, they will inevitably neglect the elderly and children. It is better to send them all back to their hometown so that they will not be affected. This year and next year will not be peaceful. Besides, there are a group of old men and women at home who are well educated and are leaders in various industries. The education of children is definitely not a problem. It may be better than staying with them. The most important thing is that the family is safe. As parents, they can take risks themselves, but they don't want their children to be a little bit unsafe. Lu Zhang and she returned to the camp side by side, his eyes looking straight ahead, his gaze as deep as the sea, and he said slowly, "I also have this plan. I will discuss it with the children tonight. We will all be very busy next and have no time to take care of them." Knowing the direction of history often requires more pressure, especially when he has the ability to influence it. Feng Qingxiu hummed, and suddenly smiled again, like a flower blooming in the deep winter, beautiful beyond words. I don't know if they are willing or not. Fubao and the triplets have never left us, except last year when I was seconded to the South China Sea, and we were separated for more than half a year. Now they are older and have their own ideas, and it is even more difficult for us adults to convince them. They have to be willing even if they don't want to. They can't object to this. Lu Zhang rarely showed a bit of toughness. He could allow his children to bargain with him on small matters, but on major matters, when they are not yet adults, it is still decided by their parents. Tell them that I won't be the evil person. Feng Qingxiu pushed the matter to him, ready to continue to be his good mother. Lu Zhang nodded and said, "Okay, if they don't want to, tie them up and send them to the train." Feng Qingxiu rolled her eyes at him, her tone of voice like a kidnapper, and they tied them up in the car. Their children are not so ignorant. Seeing the meaning revealed in her expression, Lu Zhang also smiled. The couple walked quietly for a while, and suddenly remembered Deng Hongling who they met today. Feng Qingxiu whispered to him, "This kind of thing has happened too many times. But, if we know about it, it is not what we want to do if we don't care." Lu Zhang didn't bring the guards out. It was just the couple on the road, which made it convenient for them to communicate. On the contrary, they couldn't bring it up openly when they got home, so as to avoid being heard. Even if they lived in a single courtyard, they couldn't take it lightly. Lu Zhang was happy for the news about Deng Nan at first, and then his eyes were deep, and a trace of anger suddenly flashed across his eyes. Although he had long been accustomed to the situation in which some villains were in power, he still could not suppress the sadness brought by his comrades' misfortune. They were not afraid of losing their lives on the battlefield, but it was difficult for them to accept being calculated by their own people just for the power struggle. Thinking of the scene where Deng Nan and he went through life and death, Lu Zhang was very heartbroken. "I really don't know what to say. Wife, sometimes I am very angry, and sometimes I am very painful. I am angry that good people can't get enough food, and I am painful that I know clearly but have no ability to save them, and let them suffer. They are my comrades, I dare not imagine their lives now." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1776. Feng Qingxiu understood her husband's thoughts and patted his arm as if to comfort him. "That's all, I've long been used to it." Lu Zhang sighed deeply. "Uncle Zhao has been idle at home for the past 2 years. I will call Brother Anbang later and ask him to ask Uncle Zhao about Deng Nan's situation. You should know. Here, Deng Nan's son and sister will ask you to take care of them more. I left money tickets for them and asked Han Ping to go see them next time I go to the city." "That's good. With Xiao Han protecting them, Their aunt and nephew can suffer less torture. The closer the new year is, the colder the weather will be. Find 2 old cotton-padded clothes and send them over another day, Lu Zhang warned. Feng Qingxiu rolled her eyes at him. You think I couldn't think of it? It was just not convenient to take it out at the time. Aren't we going to send the children back to their hometown now? When packing, there must be some old clothes that cannot be taken back. Take them with you when you send them to the train station. Ask Den Nan's nanny Liao to come forward and bring old clothes and medicinal oil to Deng Hongling and Deng Wu. Deng Hongling has scars on her face and a broken leg. It looks like the broken bones are not connected properly. It must be very painful in the cold winter. Treat the symptoms. If you don't treat the root cause, you'd better take her to the hospital for a thorough checkup. Her eyes were not X-rays and could not see Deng Hongling's broken bones through the flesh. Lu Zhang closed his eyes and opened them quickly. Treat the symptoms first, and then find a way to treat the root cause. Can we cure the root cause? He asked Feng Qingxiu his last words, and Feng Qingxiu said honestly, it's been too long, and it's difficult to cure the root cause. Even if it is interrupted and reconnected, it will not return to the same state as before. It can only be a little better than now. Lu Zhang smiled bitterly. He had expected it. At least my life was saved, which is a blessing among misfortunes. It's better to be optimistic. Life is the most important thing. I left mutton soup for them and brought back a lot of things. You have a good taste and it's a good time to come back. She brought back a pair of mutton skeletons and some mutton. When she got home, she soaked them in clean water and prepared to stew them in a pot after dinner. She would eat mutton soup noodles tomorrow morning. The other 2 fat wild rabbits were skinned, washed, and cut. Blocks, stir-fried and braised, and then cooked in a big pot with potatoes. The old people and children's mouths were full of oil after eating, but they were not happy when they heard that they were going to be sent back to their hometown. I'm not going home, I'm living with my mother, Lu Erxiang announced loudly, and Zhuang clung directly to Feng Qingxiu. Dun Dun looked at Fu Bao and Yayan, and expressed his support for his younger brother through actions. Lu Zhang said seriously, your mother and I will be too busy to take care of you next time. Instead of staying here and worrying us, why not go back to your hometown for a while? Your eldest brother won't come to celebrate the new year with us this year, don't you miss him? Don't you? They will feel sad spending the new year with him and your grandpa. Cheng Baoqiu and Wang Quilin's concerns are different from those of the children. The children don't want to leave their parents, but they are worried about the upcoming disaster. Wang Quilin blurted out, will it really happen? Is it a prediction error? Feng Qingxiu nodded and said, the country has forecasted for a long time that a certain disaster is very likely to occur in the Liaodong Peninsula, and we are paying close attention to it in the near future. My eldest brother and I both think it will happen within the next month or 2. And the scope must be quite large, so I wanted to send my uncle, Sanshan, and several children back to my hometown so that we don't have to worry about our family while we work. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1777. After hearing what the couple said, Cheng Baoqiu looked extremely serious. Are you sure? Lu Zhang said in a deep voice, it's not that we are sure, but the country has predicted it. It is very likely to happen. Lu Erxiang interrupted, Dad, what is an earthquake? An earthquake is an earthquake. The ground shakes and houses collapse. In the end, people and animals are crushed to death and all the buildings on the ground are destroyed. If it hits you, it will break your head and bleed, which is very painful, Fu Bao quickly explained. Her big, watery eyes looked at her parents. I went back to my hometown with my 3rd grandpa and grandma. I miss my grandpa and eldest brother, and there is no need to write to Grandpa Wen and Grandpa Jin. Fu Bao was extremely talented in calligraphy and painting, and she liked it very much. Every month she sent several letters to Wen Ruyu, Jin Ruoku, and others in her hometown. Feng Qingxiu didn't have the perseverance she had when she was busy at work. Feng Qingxiu smiled when she heard this. Yes, you can study hard with Grandpa Jin and Grandpa Wen when you go back to your hometown. When Lu Erxian mentioned the word study, he had a headache, but he rolled his eyes and said, if I go back to my hometown, I won't have to go to school. Then I'll go home. I want to see the scenery of my hometown that my elder brother described to us. Lu Zhang patted his head and said, don't go to school? What a beautiful idea. Forget it this semester, you will go to school in your hometown starting from next semester. Lu Erxian looked depressed, but Chen Baoqiu was stunned. Are you going to stay in your hometown for a long time? It's not that he doesn't want to go home. In fact, he thinks about it very much. Wanglu Brigade is also his hometown, his roots and his brothers have been living there. He originally planned to wait until the triplets were 1 or 2 years older, so he wouldn't have to worry about it in life. They took care of it, and he and Wang Quilin went back to their hometown to live with Lu's father. Unexpectedly, due to the impending disaster, the plan was implemented in advance. Lu Zhang nodded and said, we can't predict how long this disaster will last or whether there will be earthquakes in the surrounding areas in the near future. We simply ask my uncle and aunt to take the children to live in my hometown for 2 years. Wang Quilin hurriedly said, it should be, natural disasters are the most unpredictable. Ye Yan said, Uncle Lu, Aunt Lu, what about me? Do I have to go back to my father? Feng Qingxiu hurriedly said, your dad is in the army, and your Uncle Lu has many tasks to give to him. If you stay here, it will also distract your dad and us. So, you and your brothers and sisters go to our hometown together. Your uncle and I are not around. Please keep an eye on Lu Erxian for me and don't let him get into mischief in the mountains and rivers. Ye Yan relaxed and agreed. He has lived in the Lu family for so long that he already regards his younger brothers and sisters as his own, and he no longer wants to live alone. Although his grandparents wrote letters and wanted to take him over, he didn't want to go. Yes, Yang Qian also knew that natural disasters were unpredictable, so he was naturally happy to let his son avoid them. Before sending them to the car with Lu Zhang and his wife, he stuffed a large amount of money and tickets to Cheng Baoqiu. Before he could refuse, he said, tickets are not circulated in all provinces, just some national food stamps and military food stamps. Uncle, I have no shame in letting you raise Ye Yan. If you don't accept it, I won't let Ye Yan go. Cheng Baoqiu could only accept it. The child had been with them for a long time and he was reluctant to leave it behind. Cheng Baoqiu and Wang Quilin were both old. Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu were worried about the 2 elders and a group of children, so they specially asked Xiao Miao to go with them. They would send the elderly and children safely to their hometown before returning to their hometown. As for most of the clothes and bedding, they were packed and mailed directly. By the time they arrived at their hometown, the things should have been sent. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1778. Watching the train carrying the elderly, children and orderlies slowly leaving, Lu Zhang, who was dressed in casual clothes, asked Ye Qian and the guards and driver to drive back first, while he found Aunt Liao with the packed cotton padded clothes and bedding and Feng Qingxiu, who was also dressed in casual clothes. Halfway through the journey, Feng Qingxiu took out some rice noodles from the space and put them in the backpack. Mrs. Liao's children and grandchildren were unfilial and lived alone, which made it easier for them to visit. There are ruthless people in the world, and there are also people who value love and righteousness. For people like Aunt Liao, the couple has great respect. For the young lady and the young master, looking at the pair of men and women who were made in heaven in front of her, when Aunt Liao recognized Feng Qingxiu, she couldn't help but have a strange look on her face, thinking that she had heard something wrong. At this time, someone is actually willing to approach them. Her old lady was incompetent and had watched the young lady and the young master suffer for 7 or 8 years, but no one was willing to treat them kindly. Even those who had been favored by the Deng family avoided them. A soft smile appeared on the corner of Feng Qingxiu's mouth, and she pointed at her husband. He is Deng Nan's comrade. After learning what happened to Hong Ling and Xiao Wu, he immediately contacted other comrades to find out the whereabouts of Deng Nan. But it is not convenient for us to come forward. I'm worried that Hong Ling and Xiao Wu will find too much stuff in their house and they can't explain the source, so they can only ask Auntie to come up with a reason. Aunt Liao's attention was attracted by her words, and she said hastily, "You said there is news about the eldest young master? How is the eldest young master's situation?" "Damn it, Zhang Rong betrayed the eldest young master without telling him, and even stabbed the eldest young master hard. It's like a stab in my heart." Lu Zhang said warmly, "Don't be anxious. I've asked before and everything is fine with Deng Nan. It's just that he works hard and his food and clothing are not that good. The people who were sent to the farms all had the same lack of food and clothing, and were extremely hard working. According to Zhao Anbang, Deng Nan's situation is not bad, because Deng Nan is in the prime of life and has the strength to work, while his old boss and people like Mr. Zhao are old and frail, and have really suffered a lot." Aunt Liao cried with joy, "It's good to live, it's good to live. The eldest young master has been pampered since he was a child. Where has he ever suffered? He is passionate and wants to join the army to fight. The master has no choice but to agree and give all his property. It's so easy to work hard." After finding a future, New China was founded, and the family lived in peace and stability for more than 10 years. Who would have thought that such a despicable and shameless bitch like Zhang Rong would appear, causing the eldest young master and his wife to be separated, and the young master and the young lady suffered a lot. The lady even lost one of her legs and her face was disfigured. Feng Qingxiu handed the handkerchief to the old man to wipe his tears. "Everything will pass. Don't be too sad. I have taken care of the young master and the young lady. Can I not be sad to see them in such a state?" Aunt Liao wiped away her tears and took Feng Qingxiu's hand. "Daughter, I will give you an eyelash. I can see at a glance that you are capable. The fact that you came here at this time shows that you are kind. Just leave the things to me. I will deliver them all to the young lady and the young master. Why don't you two give them to the young lady personally? You are the eldest young master's comrade in arms, and I will definitely be happy to see you." Seeing all the doubts on Aunt Liao's face, Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, "Of course we can deliver the things to them personally, but there are many people and we think we should be careful." No one was watching when she came into contact with Deng Hongling a few days ago, but that doesn't mean there won't be any in the future. In this era, many neighbors are born with a pair of eagle eyes and a dog nose. There are not many people who report strangers who come into contact with people with bad ingredients or smell a bit of meat. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1779. After hearing this, Aunt Liao couldn't help being horrified, and said repeatedly, it should be, you are very considerate. There are people watching the young lady and the young master all the time, but the weather has been cold and snowy recently, and because no one has been there for 7 or 8 years, they came into contact with the young lady and the young master, so they slacked off and did not follow them as frequently as before. Speaking of this, Aunt Liao gritted her teeth and said, I know that some people are worried about the young lady and the young master turning over, and they want the young lady and the young master to have contact with strangers so that the young lady and the young master can be charged, and then they can catch the young lady and the young master in a fight, so that they were suffering, so they kept a close eye on me. My old lady was not afraid of death. I had good qualities. Even if I had more milk than the young master, I still had good qualities. I made a big fuss back then and wanted to be hanged with a rope in front of their work unit. They forced me to do this, and they didn't come to trouble me, mainly because I am an incompetent old woman with no money and power, so I can't help the young lady and the young master. Feng Qingxiu's heart moved and she asked who was so cruel. She heard what Aunt Liao meant. Someone was adding insult to injury and deliberately targeting Deng Hongling and Deng Wu. It didn't seem like the trouble was caused by their composition and Deng Nan. Aunt Liao snorted, who could it be? It's Zhang Rong and her niece Zhang Mi, and these nieces and nephews are just like the wolf and the wolf, they are cunning. Zhang Rong married the son of the master's enemy during his lifetime. Because the other party gained power, her niece fell in love with the young lady's fiancé, and finally married that villain as she wished. It was all her fault that the young lady's face was disfigured and her legs were broken. After listening, Feng Qingxiu quickly figured it out. The situation is a bit complicated. In short, the son of the feuding family of the Deng family gained power. Zhang Rong colluded with him and betrayed Deng Nan. His niece Zhang Min fell in love with Deng Hongling's fiancée, so they collaborated to push the Deng family into the abyss, and even used the opportunity to destroy the family. Deng Hongling's face was broken and her legs were crippled, but she was not satisfied yet. He secretly watched her to see if she had colluded with others so that he could be charged with it and continue to torture her. In fact, when Feng Qingxiu first met Deng Hongling, she felt strange why someone was not satisfied with insulting and abusing Deng Hongling, but wanted to ruin her face. In her opinion, only women would do this, and it was done with private anger. That kind of thing. Aunt Liao's words finally cleared Feng Qingxiu's doubts. When Lu Zhang heard this, he said solemnly, "Ms. Liao, don't worry, there is a blue sky for the right path in the world. Deng Nan will eventually get the belated justice, and the evildoers will also get the punishment they deserve. What we should do now is wait." Aunt Liao sighed and said, "Waiting and waiting, I have waited for 7 or 8 years and still haven't received the due reward for good and evil. I don't know when the day you mentioned will be. I can't wait anymore. I'm frustrated, but I don't dare to die. I'm afraid that if I die, the young lady and the young master will really be separated from each other. Now that there is news about the young master, I can finally rest assured. I will send them separately what the young master has prepared." Looking at the half-new cotton-padded clothes and bedding in the package, Aunt Liao had a little more smile on her face. "You are very well prepared. The old ones are just right. The new ones are eye-catching and will cause trouble for the young lady and the young master." Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu thought the same way. "Then I'll be in trouble for you." Aunt Liao waved her hand. "You are so good to the young lady and young master. It's too late for me to be happy. How can I say it's troublesome?" Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1780. In the evening after Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu left, Aunt Liao carried 2 sets of cotton jackets and trousers, one large and one small, to Deng Hongling and Deng Wu. She did not forget to bring the medicated oil that Feng Qingxiu had told Deng Hongling to use. In the dimness, Aunt Liao saw Zhang Rong standing at the door picking her teeth, and gave her a fierce look. If looks could kill, then Zhang Rong's body would be completely gone now. A sneer appeared on Zhang Rong's charming face. "Do you really think you are a loyal servant? It's true that you have servility in your bones, and you can't change it in your life. The general trend is, let's see how that crippled and sick cat can turn around." Aunt Liao was worried about causing harm to Deng Hongling and Deng Wu, so she ignored her and walked silently. However, Aunt Liao hoped in her heart that Lu Zhang and his wife's words would come true as soon as possible, and that good will be rewarded with good and evil will be rewarded with evil. Arriving at the residence of Deng Hongling's aunt and nephew, Aunt Liao's face turned gentle and kind. "Miss, after taking the medicine that the doctor left, is the young master feeling better?" Deng Hongling took the baggage and said, "The fever has completely gone away, but I am still lying on the bed because I am weak. I have not finished the medicine the doctor gave me. I think I will have to take care of myself for a few more days. Madam, what is in the baggage? It's cotton clothes and medicated oil, and Liao said honestly. The eldest young master's comrades found me and brought news about the eldest young master. They said that the eldest young master is alive, but he has to do more work and it is harder. It is inconvenient for them. Come forward and ask me to send you cotton padded clothes and quilts. Although they are old, I have seen them. The cotton inside is fluffy, soft, and very warm. Aunt Liao suspected that the cotton was all new, but she didn't say anything. Deng Hongling was surprised and happy to receive the news that her brother was safe. Brother's comrades? Have you left their names? Aunt Liao shook her head. No, I asked, but they didn't tell me. They were a handsome couple. The man looked majestic. He looked about 40 years old. His face was handsome and resolute, like a high-ranking general. The woman's skin is white and moist, as tender as a shelled egg. She looks like she is in her 20s, and her appearance is extremely beautiful. Deng Hongling thought, could it be the doctor who treated Xiao Wu? You said she is the kind doctor. Yes, the folk customs here are rough, the north wind is raging, and there are not many people with fair and delicate skin and beautiful appearance. The most important thing is that she just asked for my brother's whereabouts 2 days ago, and today someone came as my eldest brother's comrade in arms. Isn't it a coincidence that we came to see my aunt? Moreover, she was very kind to us and showed great concern after knowing my brother's name. Those tickets and money were solid evidence, good evidence for them, and the lunchbox containing the mutton soup was not taken away. After listening to Deng Hongling's words, Aunt Liao lowered her head and thought for a moment. It's possible that the white noodles I brought you that day were obtained from her with old items. Wasn't it the day when she treated the young master? Although she was not entirely sure, Deng Hongling felt that it was her. I must ask her name next time I meet her. Yes, when the eldest young master comes back, let him go and thank him personally. That doctor saved the young master's life. After saying this, Aunt Liao couldn't help but resent her own powerlessness. If I have some ability, even if I have a little miss, you don't have to beg that bitch Zhang Rong for money. She even broke her head and is still recovering. Deng Hongling smiled faintly and comforted. How can you blame the aunt? Even if you have money, other hospitals will not treat bad elements like us, they will just kick us out. The ingredients fundamentally determine their lives, regardless of whether human nature is good or evil, which makes Deng Hongling feel extremely sad.